Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another podcast. My name is Mike Reeves. I'm here with Carlos D'Alvarado. Today, we're talking about Iryna Zarutska's murder on August 22nd, 2025. I guess I'll let Carlos start. I think he knows a little bit more about it than I do.
Yeah, I've definitely done a lot. I mean, it's been multiple weeks since this happened, and guys, for everyone listening, when it comes to all these events happening, we're gonna try our best to stay as consistent as possible. It's just right now we're kind of playing catch up, but hopefully within the next couple of episodes, we'll be talking about a lot more relative topics going on. But once again, this death happened a few weeks ago, so it's still a hot topic in my mind. We just wanted to cover the Charlie Kirk one first, since obviously that was the bigger event that happened, and unfortunately, I feel like it kind of overshadowed Iryna Zarutskaya.
Zarutska?
Saruska.
Iryna
It just kind
Zarutska.
of overshadowed that whole event because of just when it comes to like social media and stuff, like things move fast. Like a meme you saw 5 days ago is as old as the dinosaurs. That's just kind of how the internet works these days.
Yeah. Um,
hmm
I suppose we should get started just with a little bit of a background of both of the victim and um, the guy that did it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So I don't really know as much in terms of the killer. All I know is his name is, and I hate to say this name, DeCarlos Brown Jr.
yeah,
Took my name and added "duh" to it. I am Listen, I hated this guy when I saw the original video of him, and the fact that it was a racially motivated killing, because there are multiple sources that claimed that he said, quote unquote, "I got the white girl." And if that doesn't
yeah,
prove that it's not a racially motivated crime, I don't know what else will. Um, and so I already hated him with a passion when I saw what he did, but now that he kind of he has a similar name to mine, I have a lot more grievances towards him now.
yeah.
Um,
I'm just been reading a little bit on him. He's been arrested 14 times before this
mm-hmm,
happened.
yep,
And he's been arrested ever since 2017 or 2007 was the first time he was arrested. So he's been on the radar for like a long time,
yes,
doing
and
armed robberies and stuff like that.
yeah,
Which
it's
is
crazy.
which I feel like if you do an armed robbery, you should be in jail for a little bit of time. You shouldn't just be let released or or whatever happened. I guess I don't really know, but I haven't
The f-
researched it a whole
the
lot.
fact the fact that he has that many mugshots is insane to me. And the fact, because one of the huge talking points that people were furious about, including myself, is how was this guy allowed back on the streets? Now, I'm not going to go back and name every 14 different crime that he did as to why he was released, but I will talk about the latest one. So, a judge by the name of Teresa Stokes released DeCarlos Brown Jr. without bail in January of this year on a misdemeanor charge of misuse of 911 after he made repeated calls from a hospital claiming that people were trying to control him. Okay. So already right off that's the latest incident that happened with him before he did the stabbing earlier this month.
Hmm.
And Teresa Stokes is the name of the chick who released him. And for those of you who are kind of questioning the competence of this judge, here's what I have so far. So she has 8+ years as a clerk of a court or law enforcement officer, and a 4-year bachelor's degree from college, along with a 2-year associate's degree. So she gets a lot of experience, spends a lot of time doing education, working in law enforcement, pre-handedly, gets elected as a judge, and this is the level of competency or lack thereof
Yeah.
to just release someone for that.
Well, even then, having a bachelor's, I guess it's somewhat impressive, but I guess like a judge should probably have a master's in criminology.
Hmm.
She didn't even
Yeah,
have that. She had a bachelor's, and then she had an
yeah.
associate's in something else. And so I guess she
Hmm.
did go to school for 6 years, but you need to get 6 years of one degree. You can't have like three associate's degrees and then say, well, technically I went to school, so this is a master's. If you combine them all, it's like it doesn't work like that. So
Hmm.
I think that they maybe should make it to where it's like you have to have better prerequisites to be a judge.
Yeah. And there are some sympathy points that people are just throwing out, using the fact that he's, schizophrenic, allegedly. I haven't actually looked at the details on that, but multiple sources have confirmed that to be the case, which I do find very believable. Um, and people will try to use that talking point as an excuse to give this guy a slap on the wrist. Making excuses under the guidance of mental health is a terrible thing to do. Absolutely terrible thing to do. Because when it comes to getting people like mental health that help that they need, that is available in jails and prisons. And
Yeah.
so he should have just been in prison getting the help that he needed so that if he ever eventually got out, no one would have gotten killed.
Yeah.
And the judge has quote unquote expertise with the mental health. Apparently, she did like some kind that was like part of her career or whatever. Um, but I think this is what happens when we let women be as judges, because women think a lot more emotionally. And in my opinion, I think that she formed a lot of empathy for the guy because of his schizophrenia, um, and decided to be a lot more graceful than she should have been in that case. And to be honest, like I would go as far as to say that this was more of a DEI push, as to why she's a judge and why she has been super soft on criminals like him. And keep in mind, this is just one criminal that we're talking about today. I, I might go back and research myself, um, her entire career, because this kind of stuff cannot happen. We cannot be soft on crime like this. For ever since 2020, there's been this whole push of, oh, police brutality. No, like that's clearly never been the case. And when it comes to the court system, it seems to be a lot harsher on single dads than it does to be career criminals.
Yeah. Uh, I think it's kind of wild that in January he was arrested for like mental illness related things. Um, and then they just released him without giving him any therapy or anything like that. I think obviously I guess it's not a law that you have to get
Mm-hmm.
therapy, but I think that if a court decides that you're kind of insane, then maybe they should try to push to have therapy done, or at least
Mm-hmm.
something, put him
And
in some sort of home, or I don't know. But also, uh, if you watch the video of him before he stabs her, he's like talking to himself and laughing at himself as he's like sitting
mm-hmm.
alone in the train, and then he's
Yeah,
walking around. And also, he was on the train without a ticket too. The security guards just let him onto the train, and he didn't have a ticket,
yeah.
which is also pretty wild. So
Mm-hmm.
there could have been a lot of things. Like months ago, there could have been something that stopped this, but also just that day, if somebody was just doing, like, if one guy did his job correctly, then they wouldn't have, like, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. Yeah, the problem is there were a multitude of people that didn't do their job to their fullest of their abilities, because once again, we're just too like Like, there's nothing wrong with being empathetic and like wanting to be graceful and stuff, but there is a line that you can't cross, and this line has been crossed multiple different times because of the fact that he was just a free man on that day and decided to stab that young girl and then say, "I got the white one," which once
Yeah.
again is all the evidence you need to prove that it was a racially charged crime. Now,
Yeah.
here is one thing I do want to bring up is I'm gonna assume this guy was self-aware enough to know of his like mental condition, or maybe he wasn't. Maybe he was just in denial about it.
Yeah,
Either way,
I think at some point he probably came to the conclusion that, like, obviously, if
mhm,
you're slowly going insane, you're gonna know that you're doing that, right?
yes. And here's like the thing with everyone out there, like you're not a bad person if you're schizophrenic or anything like that, but it is everyone's responsibility to have discernment, to have the wisdom, and to take responsibility for yourself and do what you need to do in order to live your life correctly. Like there's tons of people who are also like severely schizophrenic and they don't go out murdering people. So having that illness does not make you a bad person, but you do need to do something about it,
Yeah.
clearly.
I have a cousin on my dad's side who was he's diagnosed with schizophrenia. And he has
Mm.
pills that he takes and stuff, but every once in a while he decides that he doesn't need to take his pills, and then he like falls into this routine where he's just going crazy and insane, and he ended up getting divorced a couple of times because he like stops taking his pills and his wife leaves him. And then he takes his pills again and he turns into a good guy again, and then he finds a wife and marries her, and then he stops taking his pills and then he gets divorced again. But
Wow.
he never killed anybody though. So I feel like
Hmm.
people that do have schizophrenia, it can be treated, and it's something that can be dealt with to where it's not bothering you that much. Some people just like they just don't want to take the treatment, I suppose, or maybe they think that there's nothing wrong with them, so they just kind of like go insane in their own mind, and then eventually convince themselves that they need to kill people on the subway. So I don't know,
Hmm.
it's pretty insane.
Yeah. So the next thing I want to get into with him is so there is evidence that this was an anti-white racially motivated crime. I'll let you go first, but in your opinion, why do you believe that was the case with him?
I it's obvious with just his what he said. He says, "I got that white girl" after he kills her.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like there's a lot of evidence that he probably didn't like white people a whole lot. That seems to be kind of a common theme amongst America. But yeah, I'd say that that's probably the only evidence that I have. I think he
Mm-hmm.
also has some previous convictions about white people. I think I'm not actually sure about that one. I still need to look at
Okay.
that. But that's just
Yeah.
why I think it's
Okay.
racially motivated, just because he says that after killing her, saying that I
Hmm.
got that white girl kind of
Yeah.
seems like he was targeting her because she was white, basically.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and also the fact is, the rest of that train was filled, but nothing of other, blacks and maybe Hispanics over there. And there was the second thing that disgusted me the most, on top of him stabbing her, is nobody even tried to help her. Like nobody tried to fight or subdue the attacker, even though there was a bunch of group of guys who could have easily overpowered him, taken him to the ground, and just held him there until cops showed up to arrest him. And on top of that,
Yeah.
no one even tried to help Iryna, help with the bleed stopping, because when you get stabbed in the neck, blood pumps out of your neck like super duper fast, and you can bleed out and die like
Yeah,
within
if you
minutes.
get hit in the right spot. There was one guy, when she after she collapsed, there was a guy that came
Hmm.
over and tried to help her, but by that time it was too late.
Yeah. How many times I every time I've tried to look up the full video of the stabbing, it always cuts to after the fact when she's like looking up and scared and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I do believe she got stabbed more than once.
Yeah,
Uh,
according to the FBI's report, she was stabbed 3 times, and one of them was in
yep.
the middle of her neck, which is probably the one that killed her.
Yeah. Damn.
And she was stabbed
Yeah.
with a foldable pocket knife, which is pretty crazy. Like, the guy
Mm-hmm.
couldn't even go to us. He probably had such a criminal record that the people that sell knives and guns probably wouldn't sell him a knife. So he had to use a Leatherman or something like that, which
Yeah, he probably
is
got
so
it from like
dumb.
a friend or something, or bought it off a pawn shop or something like that.
Yeah.
But my theory about why racially motivated crime like that exists, it's for a couple of reasons. But the first thing I want to point out is the education system, the American public education system. For those of you who went to, public school or even private school, I'm sure there's tons of private schools that do this. They will talk about slavery from the American point of view. So they talk about American slavery and they only bring up black people being slaves. Even though back when slavery used to be an acceptable thing worldwide during that time.
Hmm.
So all people from both genders, all races, at some point in the world was a slave. Hell, I may even have ancestors who were slaves. I don't know.
Hmm.
But it's pretty obvious to me that what this education system tries to do is laser focus on that part of history. So two things can happen. One, so that white people can feel a sense of guilt over something that they never did. And for two, for black kids to mentally form a little bit of anti-white hatred over something that their peers and the parents of the peers and the parents of those parents and those parents never ever participated in.
Yeah.
In America, there, when, I'm going to bring up the Civil War, but, most people think that the Civil War was strictly about slavery. It actually wasn't. It was actually a lot more about farmland. But after the North Wind, slavery got abolished. Now, there sure was some racism that was happening at the time, hence why Martin Luther King rose to power. And I would call him the first quote unquote woke person. And I don't mean that term woke in the way that is meaning now, because even that meaning, it used to technically mean something good when it comes to, his most famous quote of judge people by the content of the character, not by the color of their skin. That was his movement there. And even with a sentiment like that, he, by someone for whatever reason, he got assassinated.
Yeah.
So I think it's the public education system that indoctrinates kids into having certain points of view when it comes to race. And I also think that 2020, after the George Floyd death, that's when a new movement sparked of law enforcement officials being scared to do their jobs because they don't want to end up like Derek Chauvin, because he was found guilty on all 3 counts, and I believe he got stabbed while he was in prison as well, even though he should have never been in prison, because he was doing a tactical move that's trained in that specific law enforcement police station that he worked under. And and he didn't kill George Floyd. George Floyd killed himself by overdosing in fentanyl.
Breathe air.
Yeah.
And then that sparked a whole movement of riots and stuff like that. And then obviously the media plays a big a part into brainwashing people to have that sort of hatred and to think that it's acceptable to like not only like commit crime, which is bad enough, but there's also plenty of, minorities that go as far as to demand reparations for events that their grandparents probably never even went through. Hell, their great grandparents probably never even went through it either.
Yeah. It's like the what do they call it? They call it equity,
Mm-hmm.
which I had to learn about. Equity, you go to university and they tell you all these things, but
Mm-hmm.
equity is, it makes sense if those people were still around. Like if the people that were slaves back in like the 1800s and whatever, if they were still alive, then equity would make sense for them. But they're not still alive anymore. We're generations past. Um, we're generations past the slave trade, basically, and I
Multiple.
I understand that there is such thing as generational wealth, and you can give your kids money and they can thrive off of it. But my parents aren't paying for my university, and I'm still out here, and there's so many like government programs that help people that are poor to be able to have higher education so that they can potentially get into a more prestigious job when they're
Mm-hmm.
older. There's a lot of people that just don't want to take it though because they're stuck in their culture. I think that the culture of like African Americans is just kind of is just it's just not a very good culture at the moment. And I'm not talking about like I'm not talking about trying to wipe away their African culture. It's not that. They've created a new culture just for African Americans that is, kind of try to be tough and gangsta. And, I
Mm-hmm.
have a lowrider
Yep.
car and my pants are sagging. And, and I get if that's what you want to be because, there is like
It,
a white person culture that I try to live and try to fill in too. But you have to admit that like African people from Africa don't act like that. It's literally just people that have convinced themselves that I my life is tragic because my great 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 grandfather was a slave, and even though we've been free for like 200 years, basically, not quite 200
mm-hmm.
years, but like 150 years, we've been free, and I'm still going to pretend like that prohibits me from becoming who I want to be. But really, who you want to be is who you are because you've decided that you want to be this gangster guy that goes around and sells drugs and stuff. And I'm not saying that that's every black person. If anything, it's actually quite a minority of black people that actually act like that.
Mm-hmm.
But the minority of black people that are in there are the ones that are in that culture are the ones that do,
Mm-hmm.
all like a lot of bad stuff, and it
Yeah.
kind of outshines all the good ones.
Mm-hmm.
And there are, I don't want to be like, oh, black people are such a huge problem because it's really not. It's really a small percent of black people that are the problem. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that small
Well,
percent has fallen into this like weird culture where it's okay to be a gangbanger and stuff, which
mhm.
is which has always been kind of strange to me.
Yeah, here, this will sum up their culture right here.
I'm finna kill you. I'm finna drill you.
Yeah, that pretty much sums up their culture,
Yeah,
like the bad side of their
and
culture.
even though that's like a joke music video, like that guy that made that music video, I don't know if he actually lives that way. I think it's intended to
I
be a
doubt
joke.
it.
But
Yeah.
there are people who, like, the reason why it's a joke is because it actually happens.
Well, stereotypes are based in a section of truth. When we're talking about that small percentage of them, like they are only 13% of the population, but they commit over half of the violent crimes in the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I like the riddle. I'm loud and obnoxious. I like music that rhymes. I'm 13% of the population. I commit half the crimes. Who am I?
Yeah. And um I feel like this guy, DeCarlos Brown, he obviously has some mental issues, and I feel like most of you know most of people who grew up in the black culture could probably be like, yeah, I probably shouldn't kill people, and I probably shouldn't fall into the stereotype and sell drugs in the street or whatever. I'm gonna go and actually do something with my life, and I feel like a lot of them do. But DeCarlos Brown Jr. obviously fell into it because he does have mental illnesses, and his mental illnesses were never. They were obviously probably seen and recognized, but nobody did anything about it. And so he just got to live in society and not get any help, which I think that, like, I don't think that this guy shouldn't be allowed in society. I think that he should be allowed in society if he has help. Obviously, now it's too late for him.
Yeah, no more.
I think
chances for him.
I think what he's done, like, he's going to be locked up forever, or get the death penalty.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's actually good that you bring that up because I was just about to play a video. This is a short video I found from YouTube. It says, killer of Iryna Zarutska, DeCarlos Brown Jr. was sentenced to death. I'll just play it. You guys are only going to hear the audio of it, but I'll describe it to you as it goes along.
Well, if it's on YouTube, I'll probably be able to patch it in.
Okay. I'll send you a link to it, but here it is.
Yeah.
As to count for the offense of attempted.
So he just gets the death penalty, and then he collapses, like having a mental breakdown.
Court offense serve a term of 11 years in the Ohio Department of Corrections.
I'm turning the video down a little bit.
Court of count one. Court defendants serve a term of 3 years in the Ohio Department of Corrections. Mandatory and consecutive underlying offenses. All those counts are running consecutive to each other. Court give credit for time served. Court defendants serve.
Okay, so
it's kind of hard to watch.
Yeah, so and I'm actually glad that it cut out right there because it was just gonna repeat it from back and forth all over again.
Oh yeah.
So this guy is going to be sentenced to death now. That doesn't mean that he's going to die next week or next month or hell even next year. It just means that he's on death row, and whenever they get to him, they'll get to him.
Yeah, I was also reading something about the North Carolina death row. So no one's been. So there are quite a few people on death row. Oh, what's the number? I gotta look it up. Nobody has been killed on death row since 2006 in North Carolina, but there are like 150 people on the list or something. I think, yeah, he's been added, obviously, because he received death row, but no one's been killed since 2006. No one's received the death penalty since 2006. So there's some lawmakers in North Carolina that are trying to pass a law that makes like death row a thing that happens regularly again, which a lot of people are upset about. I mean, even when we were in high school, we read a book about how death row shouldn't be a thing,
We did?
Yeah, it was about, what was it? Just Cause? No, not Just Cause. That's a video game.
Just Mercy?
Just Mercy, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Okay,
a book.
I remember
It's a book
that.
about like how the death penalty shouldn't be there for like juveniles, basically, and how juveniles should always get a chance.
Yeah.
I didn't really read the book a whole lot because it was boring to me.
Yeah. I don't even remember it, to be honest with you. I completely forgot that we went over that book in high school.
It was a couple of students, or a couple of kids, basically, that were accused of killing someone, and the cases were pretty shoddy. It was like there's not a whole lot of evidence that he killed someone, but all the white people in the room convicted the black guy, and so he got put on death row, and then he was killed. And the book was about how that was wrong. So yeah, I have a statement here that I will read from an article. The bill was passed by the North Carolina Senate on September 22nd and the North Carolina House of Representatives on September 23rd, going to Stein for approval. I think Stein might be the governor, probably. President pro tempore of the North Carolina Senate, Phil Berger, also stated that he would seek to revive capital punishment in North Carolina, with no executions having taken place since 2006. and several Republican members of the North Carolina House of Representatives have signed an open letter demanding the removal of the state court magistrate judge who released the suspect on his own after his arrest earlier in 2025. The bill that they're trying to pass is Bill 307, which is called Iryna's Law. It would remove cashless bail. So that's what he had, basically, was a cashless bail.
Yeah. Because of that judge, by the way.
It would define a category of violent crimes for which a judge or magistrate would be required to impose conditions. So there'd be like a set type of crimes that would happen where if this crime happens, a judge has to do something like this for punishment. It established a protocol for requiring court officials to order mental health evaluations, which is what I was talking about earlier, which I think that that's great, to get these people help before they get to the point where they kill someone.
Yes.
Requiring appeals against death sentences to be heard by the end of 2027. So everybody that's on death row needs to put in an appeal against it by 2027. Establish that the victim using public transportation at the time of the crime as an aggravated factor when seeking the death penalty. Okay. And directing the North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections to identify another means of carrying out death sentences if lethal injection was declared unconstitutional or not possible due to drugs being unavailable. So basically they're pushing very hard for the death penalty to come out, and also for like new ways for the death penalty as well, because the only way to do death penalty in North Carolina right now is lethal injection, but there are talks that lethal injection might become unconstitutional, which, whatever, in the future it might become unconstitutional. Lethal injection probably is the most humane way to do it. You give them a drug and they fall asleep. It's like putting your dog down, basically,
Yeah.
Which, I mean, sounds bad to talk about a human like they're a dog, but, when you're stabbing people on the train, you kind of degrade yourself to dog status. So, I think North Carolina,
that quote calls for one of these.
Welcome, punch!
Yeah. I think North Carolina with their...
Welcome!
Oh, sorry, I did it again. My bad.
I think that their House representatives and their Senate is actually doing a really good job of trying to solve this problem. They're obviously recognizing that there's some faults in the system, and that the judge that let him go without recommending anything happening and without putting out a bail, a $0 bail, is pretty ridiculous. I feel like any criminal that should be convicted, even that guy, I mean, I don't really want to say his name, but that guy at Stillwater, that janitor that sexually assaulted his own adopted daughter, right? And he got sentenced to jail. He had a bond. He had like a huge bond. It was like thousands of dollars, and they couldn't pay it. And so he stayed in jail, which was great. I don't even know why bond is a thing. I guess it helps bring in money.
For a crime like that, too.
Yeah, it helps bring in money for the state, so taxes can be less. But it just allows the guy to be able to walk free for a little bit longer. It just feels so cheap, and like, why are we selling ourselves out so that this guy can walk free?
Maybe what we can do is reach out to predator poachers to catch the guy again. Either him or Gideon.
He's in jail. I mean, I do know his name, but I'm not really going to look up his case because that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see that North Carolina is at least talking about doing something to try to solve this and try to prevent it from happening in the future, which is nice.
Yeah. And the good news about this too is, let's say even if he isn't, it doesn't go through, because of the sentence that he's given, he's never going to be allowed out of jail ever. So even if he isn't put to death within the next few years, from this point forward, he's in jail and he's never getting out.
Yeah, I think for him, it's pretty impossible that he ever walks on the street again. He's going to be in jail forever. And then if North Carolina has their way, they're going to kill him. So his life's done. Yeah. It's over for him.
Well, I feel like we've already covered everything regarding the not only the killer but the judge as well. Let's talk a little bit more about Iryna Zarutska. So she migrated from Ukraine, obviously due to the war that was going on, and she moved to South Carolina and was working at a pizzeria. So she was just in this country making an honest living, and I believe she was texting her boyfriend while she was on that train as
she also,
right before she got stabbed.
I think she was going to a college there too.
Oh,
All right, let me try to read. Where is it? Give me a second. Let's see. She moved with her mother and father. Her father remained in Ukraine because there's laws that prevent anyone between the ages of 18 and 60, any man between the ages of 18 and 60 can't leave Ukraine right now. She began learning English. Her boyfriend taught her how to drive. She was enrolled in college classes and worked at a pizzeria in Charlotte. So she was taking college classes.
yeah.
So she was trying to better herself in America, which is nice.
And one thing that her father said in an interview after the murder had happened, the interviewer asked the father if they would want her body to be sent back to Ukraine for a burial, but he actually said that her daughter loved America so much, and so it would make sense for her burial to be here, which I think is, says a lot. Like, there's a lot of non-Americans here that are more American than half of America.
Well, it's because there's a lot of people that I feel like they leave the country and they go on vacation to all these other places, and they spend time in, like, obviously a vacation's fun usually. And so they go to these vacations to other places and they're like, oh yeah, this place is awesome, but they don't live there, right? And so this lady coming over here and actually living here, she's realizing that, this is way better than Ukraine, because Ukraine kind of sucks ass. And I feel like there's a lot of people in this nation that they don't know what it's like to live in other places. And you know what? I don't either, because I haven't lived in any other place, but I don't really want to live in any other place because I like it here. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence type thing, It's just those kind of people.
Yeah. And, when I say something, I do make a serious point on how there's a lot of non-Americans here that love America more than over half the country. Another example of this, since I'm a avid watcher of the UFC, is a fighter named Renato Moicano. And here I'm going to go ahead and just play a post-fight interview. And I do believe in this one at UFC 300, almost a little over a year ago. He talks about how he loves America. So I'm going to go ahead and play that.
Logan, let me tell you something. I am a huge advocate of the First Amendment. Man, let me tell you something. Today, I want the 300K bonus, but they're not gonna give me because somebody asked it. They say, hey, this is Disney, you cannot curse. So I'm not gonna do my speech, but first of all, I love America. I love the Constitution. I love the First Amendment. I want to carry an on.
Okay. That pretty much tells you everything you need to know. This guy is from Moicano is from Brazil, and I couldn't have said it any better. Loves the Constitution and loves the First Amendment. Like,
yeah,
what? Like, bro, like, get this guy a citizenship, like, ASAP. Like, I wish they would interview every freaking immigrant that comes here and ask them their opinions on the Constitution, because I guarantee you a huge chunk of them would not be in this country depending on their answers.
Yeah. Well, anything else you want to talk about? Oh, you had that one clip, right?
Yeah, we were going over the clip, but yeah, that goes over the Iranian Shoot. I keep forgetting how to pronounce her.
Iryna.
Iryna. Yes. Iryna Zarutska. So, unfortunately,
Zarutska.
Zarutska. Unfortunately, the young girl died, and it's very upsetting to hear. But it is nice to hear that there's proper responses happening now, and I hope that this is a huge awakening for the whole country to not just catch and release criminals under the guidance of mental illness and just give them a slap on the wrist to be out roaming around society and scaring the crap out of everyone in their proximity.
Yeah, it also makes, it makes black people look bad.
Yep.
I've
Yes,
met
it
so many
does.
black guys and they're just so awesome, right? And then this guy,
Like Uncle Frank.
like Uncle Frank, that's right.
Yes.
We have a friend named Uncle Frank and he's awesome. But then this guy just kind of ruins it for the rest. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, which kind of sucks.
Yeah. All right. So here's for the more fun part of the show. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do this thing where we watch clips and we react to them and give our responses to them, just for the sake of kind of striking that balance between keeping our show, serious and talking about huge subjects, while also like kind of being a little lighthearted. So for whatever reason, this video, when I downloaded it, came out as an MP3 download, so you can't see the video of it, but this is just an audio podcast anyway. So before I play it, this is a woke Indian guy, and here's all of his political takes to listen to. Here it is.
The bare minimum is being a feminist. The bare minimum is not saying slurs and calling out your friends when they engage in any sorts of bigotry. The bare minimum is being a, if he wanted to, he would type of guy.
That ending gets me every time.
Yeah, let's play it one more time.
The bare minimum is being a feminist. The bare minimum is not saying slurs and calling out your friends when they engage in any sorts of bigotry. The bare minimum is being a, if he wanted to, he would type of guy.
Yeah. It's just that stupid dramatic pause that he has at the end. It's
because he
whatever.
didn't know what to say. He literally did not know what to say. He is so low IQ to the point where he's not even able to form a full sentence.
Let's analyze what he says. What's the first thing that he says?
So the first thing he said is the bare minimum is being a feminist.
Okay, well that's wrong. Like,
Yep.
being a feminist sucks ass. Nobody wants to do that. Am I supposed to
Yes.
like kiss feet all the time just so I can like what's the point of being a feminist anyway?
Yeah. And then he said that, and his like second and third point was the bare minimum is not using racial slurs and then calling out your friends if they engage in bigotry. First of all my homies are bigots, proud bigots, and yeah, shout out to all you guys. I know you guys know who you are. I won't say every name of everyone, but we send each other the Instagram memes, and we'll talk about Instagram in a little bit because I think it's awesome now.
Yeah.
And that last point when he said if he wanted to he would kind of guy, and so first of all, that last point that moron says makes no sense. Like, what does that mean to you? That like, does that make any sense to you?
Like, if he wanted to, he would. Like if somebody really loves you, then they'll do anything to try to make you happy, and it's just like that's just not how the world works. Like. You can try as much as you want, but sometimes you run out of money and you just can't do everything. And also, sometimes people just don't deserve everything. All these hoes out here make me feel bad. They don't deserve my best.
Yeah. Yeah, so one thing, I think we can just go back and forth with counterpoints. So in my opinion, the bare minimum is being a U.S. citizen.
Welcome, punch!
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
The bare minimum is also using the toilet when you go to the bathroom and not the Los Angeles beaches.
Yeah, I'd say that you should probably use the bathroom, yes.
Bare minimum is not dodging deodorant either. Bare minimum is not taking up all the tech jobs, and when your card gets declined for whatever reason and you're super pissed off, and the last thing you need to hear is an accent you can't even understand.
Yeah, they do that too.
And like one here's like my thing about them like constantly dodging deodorant, because they do that. You, me, and Josh, not Josh from high school, Josh, your friend from college, Josh.
Yeah.
We went to Glacier Park, and as we're walking towards like the store and a touristy area, there were some deodorant dodgers, and when we walked right past them, like my nose got infected with so many diseases. I obviously I've recovered from it now, and I'm feeling healthy and strong, but dang, it like took a minute to get that out of my system.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that they don't have proper hygiene, I'd say.
Well, it's mainly like a lot of those specific people too. Like they're just, they're taking up all the tech jobs, they're dodging deodorant, they're in their race of people, pays like less taxes in the system but receives like some of the most in benefits.
Yep.
So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that clip. I do want to do a thing where we get like maybe like 3 clips per episode. It's just right now this is just us testing the field and just seeing what works.
I think it's pretty tragic that this kind of got swept under the rug a little bit, and not a whole lot of people know all the details about Iryna's death. But I think that it is very important that people read up on it. I think it kind of got swept underneath the rug because of Charlie Kirk and everything, and that was kind of a bigger story because he was way more well known, and that was obviously a lot more politically motivated. I think this one was more racially motivated, and that's not as exciting as politics. But yeah, so I guess that's where the podcast ends. I want to thank everyone for watching, and hopefully me and Carlos will be able to have another one ready for you in a week.
All right. See you later, guys.
Down the Marco.